History for Class 6th, entitled Our Pasts 1. Page number 79. Chapter number 8. Title: Vital Villages, Thriving Towns. Prabhakar at blacksmith's shop. Prabhakar sat watching the smiths at the local shop. There was a small bench on which iron tools like axes and sickles were laid out, ready for sale. A bright fire was burning, and two men were heating and beating metal rods into shape. It was very hot and noisy, and yet it was fascinating to watch what was happening. Iron tools and agriculture. We often take the use of iron for granted today. Things made of iron and steel are a part of our daily lives. The use of iron began in the subcontinent around 3,000 years ago. Some of the largest collections of iron tools and weapons were found in the megalithic burials, about which you read in Chapter 4. Around 2,500 years ago, there is evidence for the growing use of iron tools. These included axes for clearing forests and the iron plowshare, as we had seen in Chapter 5. The plowshare was useful for increasing agricultural production. Other steps to increase production. Irrigation. The kings and kingdoms you have been reading about could not have existed without the support of flourishing villages. While new tools and the system of transplantation in Chapter 5 increased production, irrigation was also used. Irrigation works that were built during this time included canals, wells, tanks, and artificial lakes. On the right side of this page, some tools are shown. These are iron tools. Here's a set of captions. Choose the right one for each of the pictures. Sickle, tongs, axe. Prepare a list of at least 5 objects made of iron or steel that you use almost every day. Page number 80. If you look at the chart, you will find that some of the stages in the construction of irrigation works are mentioned. Fill in the rest by using the following phrases. Labor is provided by the people. Farmers also benefit because crop production is more certain. Farmers have to increase production to pay taxes. Kings provide money and plan irrigation works. 1. Kings need money for armies, palaces, forts. 2. They demand taxes from farmers. 3. Fill in the blank. 4. This is possible with irrigation. 5. Fill in the blank. 6. Fill in the blank. 7. Production increases. 8. So does revenue. 9. Fill in the blank. Who lived in the villages? There were at least 3 different kinds of people living in most villages in the southern and northern parts of the subcontinent. In the Tamil region, large landowners were known as Villalla. Ordinary ploughmen were known as Unvar. And landless labourers, including slaves, were known as Kadaisiyar. And Adimai. Page number 81. In the northern part of the country, the village headman was known as the Gram Bhojak. Usually, men from the same family held the position for generations. In other words, the post was hereditary. The Gram Bhojak was often the largest landowner. Generally, he had slaves and hired workers to cultivate the land. Besides, as he was powerful, the king often used him to collect taxes from the village. He also functioned as a judge and sometimes as a policeman. Apart from the Gram Bhojak, there were other independent farmers known as Grihipati. Most of whom were smaller landowners. And then there were men and women such as the Das Karmakar, who did not own land and had to earn a living working on the fields owned by others. In most villages, there were some craftspersons such as the blacksmith, potter, carpenter, and weaver. The earliest Tamil compositions. Some of the earliest works in Tamil, known as Sangam literature, were composed around 2,300 years ago. These texts were called Sangam because they were supposed to have been composed and compiled in assemblies known as Sangams of poets that were held in the city of Madurai. See map number 7, page number 105. The Tamil terms mentioned above are found in Sangam literature. Finding out about cities, stories, travelers, sculpture, and archaeology. You may have heard of the Jatakas. These were stories that were probably composed by ordinary people and then written down and preserved by Buddhist monks. Here is a part of a Jatak story which tells us how a poor man gradually became rich. Page number 82. The Clever Poor Man. Once upon a time, there was a clever poor young man who lived in a city. His only resource was a dead rat. He started off by selling it for a coin to a hotel for their cat. Then one day, there was a storm. The king's garden was littered with branches and leaves. And the gardener was at a loss as to how to clear the mess. The young man offered to clean the garden if he could keep the wood and leaves. The gardener agreed at once. The young man rounded up all the children who were playing with an offer of sweets for every stick and leaf that they could collect. In no time, every scrap had been neatly piled near the entrance. Just then, the king's potter was on the lookout for fuel with which to bake his pots. So he took the whole lot and paid the young man for it. Our young man now thought of another plan. He carried a jar full of water to the city gate and offered water to 500 grass cutters. They were pleased and said, "You have done us a good turn. Tell us, what can we do for you?" He replied, "I'll let you know when I need your help." He then made friends with a trader. One day, the trader told him, "Tomorrow a horse dealer is coming to town with 500 horses." Hearing this, our young man went back to the grass cutters. He said, "Please give me a bundle of grass each, and don't sell your grass till mine is sold." They agreed and gave him 500 bundles of grass. When the horse dealer could not buy grass anywhere else, he purchased the young man's grass for 1,000 coins. List the occupations of the persons mentioned in the story. For each one, try and decide whether they would have lived A. only in the city, B. only in villages, C. in both cities and villages. Why do you think the horse dealer was coming to the city? Do you think women could have taken up the occupations mentioned in the story? Give reasons for your answer. We can use other kinds of evidence to find out about life in some of these early cities. Sculptors carved scenes depicting people's lives in towns and villages, as well as in the forest. Many of these sculptures were used to decorate railings, pillars, and gateways of buildings that were visited by people. Page number 83. On the top of this page, a picture is shown. This is a ring well found in Delhi. In what ways do you think this system of drainage was different from that of the Harappans? Many of the cities that developed from about 2,500 years ago were capitals of the Mahajanpads that you learnt about in chapter 5. As we had seen, some of these cities were surrounded by massive fortification walls. In many cities, archaeologists have found rows of pots or ceramic rings arranged one on top of the other. These are known as ring wells. These seem to have been used as toilets in some cases and as drains and garbage dumps. These ring wells are usually found in individual houses. We have hardly any remains of palaces, markets, or of homes of ordinary people. Perhaps some are yet to be discovered by archaeologists. Others, made of wood, mud brick, and thatch, may not have survived. On the right-hand side of this page, a picture is shown. It's a sculpture from Sanchi. This is a sculpture from Sanchi, a site with stupas in Madhya Pradesh, showing the scene in a city. You will learn more about Sanchi in chapter 11. Notice the way walls are shown. Are they made of brick, wood, or stone? Now look at the railings. Are they made of wood? Describe the roofs of the buildings. Another way of finding out about early cities is from the accounts of sailors and travelers who visited them. One of the most detailed accounts that has been found was by an unknown Greek sailor. He described all the ports he visited. Find Bharuch on map 7, page 105, and then read his description of the city.